Okay, now our final session on factorizing is miscellaneous questions, where you're given a question and you need to identify what type of question it is. So I'll show you how to do that now. You can only really do this if you've gone through all the different concepts and become really good at them through a lot of practice. Let's look at question 1a. 7x minus 7, that one there's just taken out the highest common factor. B, x squared minus 9, you can rewrite that as x squared minus 3 squared. So that's the difference of two squares rule. C is the difference of two squares rule. D, x squared minus 2xy, that one there's just taken out the highest common factor. E, minus 5m minus 5n. All you can do there is take out the minus 5, so that one there is on highest common factor as well. F, ay plus ab. All you can do there is take out an a, so it's highest common factor. G and h are on taking out the highest common factor. I, x squared minus 121, you can rewrite that as x squared minus 11 squared. So that's on taking out the highest common, that one there's on difference of two squares. J, all you can do for j really is take out an a squared and you're left with an a minus 3b. That's taken out the highest common factor. K, n squared minus 9n. If the n was not there, then that would have been a difference of two squares rule. You can rewrite that as n squared minus 3 squared. But because the n is there, it just becomes a highest common factor question. Question L, 9x squared minus 16y squared. That one's a difference of two squares because that can be rewritten as 3x squared minus 4y squared. So that's the difference of two squares rule. M and N on HCF, highest common factor as well. Moving along now, I won't go through every single question, but I'll just have a look. Question 2b, m cubed plus m squared plus m plus 1 is a grouping in pairs question, because if I take out m squared here, I'm left with an m plus 1, and I can take out a 1 here, and that becomes m plus 1 grouping in pairs. Okay, F is also a grouping in pairs question. Okay. G is a grouping in pairs question. I and J are difference of two squares. Question 3. Okay. 3a, monic quadratic trinomial. B, monic quadratic trinomial. C, monic quadratic trinomial. F, monic quadratic trinomial. E, G, I, J are all monic quadratic trinomials. D, non-monic quadratic trinomial. H, non-monic quadratic trinomial. Okay, 4a, find the factors. It's the same thing as factorizing, right? 4a, non-monic quadratic trinomial. Question B, non-monic quadratic trinomial. And so are all of these. Now, question 4, if you look at the ones I've highlighted so far, they're all non-monic quadratic trinomials. However, I do want you to be very, very careful here. And let me show you why. You see, if you look at this question carefully, question 4a, you need to remember that with the factorizing chapter, your aim is to get all the factors. What you should really do here is be taking out the 4 first as a common factor. And so by doing that, even though the actual question is a non-monic quadratic trinomial, by taking out the 4 to the front, you now need to focus on factorizing that there. Okay? So, how do you factorize the x squared plus 2x minus 3 part? Leave the 4 alone. Rewrite the x squared plus 2x minus 3. Put an x here and an x here. And what numbers multiply to give you minus 3 and add to give 2? Remember, that's what you do with the monics. 3 and minus 1. Okay? And there's your final answer. Okay? Now, you've always got to factor in that when you are factorizing, you should always try and take out a common factor if there is one from the very beginning with these questions. So if you have a look at question 4C, ask yourself, can I take out a common factor before I start? And the answer is yes, you could take out a 3. So the question now becomes, now, what happens if you didn't identify from the very beginning that a 3 could have been taken out? Well, let's have a look at what would happen there. What I might do in the meantime is let me just get rid of all of this so we've got a bit of space here. Okay. So let's have a look. If this was your question, okay, if you decided to not take out the 3, what would happen? So write down PSF. The product is 18, the sum is 9. Okay, so what numbers multiply to give 18 and add to give 9? Those numbers are 6 and 3. Because 6 times 3 is 18 and 6 plus 3 is 9. So go ahead now and do 3x squared plus 6x plus 3x plus 6. Okay. So look at your final answer there by using the non-monic. Even though this took longer and was more working, if you stopped here, you'll actually lose marks. Because if you have a look at this bracket, 3x plus 3, there's still a common factor of 3 that can be taken out. So really, if you did PSF and this was your final answer, you would have to take a common factor of 3 out of here. And now if you compare, let's just go around here and have a look, okay? Now if you compare what we did earlier to our final answer, the answers are exactly the same, okay? So there's our answer before, and that's our answer now. They're absolutely identical. So just keep in mind that you should take out the highest common factor where possible. That concludes the factorizing topic. Remember, please, as I said before, this topic requires a lot of practice, and when you practice a lot of questions, you become very good at it, and you won't find this topic difficult. In fact, you'll find it pretty straightforward once you've done a lot of practice.